Welcome back, Tasties and Tastettes, to another episode of FTWGT Weekly. It's your boy Lenny, joined again by producer extraordinaire himself, Dante. How are you, Dante? Good, good, good.
We live.
We are coming from you somewhere on the dark web currently. Dante is on the run for his many, many crimes. He is coming to you somewhere from Istanbul currently.
No, I'm actually in the same cave they found Osama in.
Yes, yes. Was that a cave or wasn't it like
I
it
think it
was
was a
like a
complex.
tunnel?
Yeah.
But it was like under the ground and there was a little ladder and like it popped up. I don't know. Like we weren't there.
I don't know. In the
But
movie, it was a complex.
yeah. Yeah, fuck that movie though. But props to them for catching him, for catching that guy. Yeah, we are back. We are back for another episode. We got a big one here for you. And by big one, I mean we're just talking about the biggest movie. I
Oh, are
can't
we?
lie. The big, one of the biggest flops of the year, potentially. Um, but before we get into our review of Madden Web, as well as the taste test later on here, if you could just do us a favor, drop a like down below, share your feedback, drop some comments on the pod, tell a friend, ask a friend, share with everybody, tell them to listen. Please, we'd appreciate that so very much. And with no further ado, like most podcasts, when you take on the responsibility, great power will come.
Right. I don't know if you noticed. I made a face. Uh, you said without further ado.
Uh,
I
without
expected.
further thought. There's still time, dude. I'll get to it. It's gotta come naturally. It's gotta come naturally, but it'll
uh,
be here.
uh,
Trust me. That gag is not going away. It was even in the title of last week's pod. I don't know if you saw that.
in the thumbnail, yeah, I saw it.
Yeah, yeah. This week, everybody, it's going to be Folie à Deux point one.
Jesus Christ.
Was it point two? I don't know.
I
I don't
don't.
know
I
at this
think you
point.
did 2.0 or yeah, Folie à 2.0. That's what it was.
Yeah, so this one will be Folie à Deux point one.
Yes.
Yeah, but let's get into Madam Web, huh? Let's
Shall
talk
we?
shop, baby. Let's talk some shop here. Um, I'm trying to debate where I want to start with this because we talked about it a little bit last week, and it's weird because like the
Did we?
podcast came out. Yeah, well, we talked about like early reviews and early reception for the movie
Okay.
prior to its release. But you know, like how this thing normally goes is we record and then it doesn't come out for a few days after. So I actually had seen the movie already by the time like the pod was ready to come out, and I
Hmm.
knew I was like reflectively watching what I said, and
Did you not like what you said?
no, no, I had no problem with it. I think what I want to touch base on my like Sydney Sweeney take again a little later on, uh, but I actually want to recap a lot of it. But let's just talk money first. Let's talk money. So the movie cost reportedly 80 million is what they're reporting as budget. It's actually more like low 100s is what I'm reading. Uh it got killed. It was coming in at like 13. It's at 13% on Rotten Tomatoes now. I think when it first started getting reviews, it was at like what 16%,
When
equal
we
to
did
that of
our episode, I think, yeah.
yeah, it was like equal to that of Morbius, Morbin time. And it only made 26 million on a 6-day weekend, on a holiday weekend.
Jesus Christ.
That's bad. That's very bad.
Um, are you wait, where'd you go? Are you back? I miss you so.
It's so.
All right.
Okay, yeah, so it only made 26 million and it's a monumental flop. That's pretty fucking bad. You know what's crazy? You know how much Morbius made at the box office, which is like notoriously a terrible movie?
What was it, like 40?
Yeah. Yeah, like 40, 43, or something like that. Like,
Look at that. I'm getting good at this, huh?
isn't that like I didn't see all of Morbius.
I
I
didn't
thought
either.
there was So listen, like we'll get into the actual review, but obviously like everybody's kind of had the same take on this movie at this point that it's a disaster. For a multitude of reasons. But I thought there was a world where like it was going to be so bad that like people would start going.
Oh, you thought it
And
would get, like, so much buzz that people would go to see how bad it was?
yeah, and I think long term there's a world where this turns into kind of like a cult classic. Um like
I
for
I
comedic
think
value
I think cult
and
classic is a stretch, but okay.
classic is probably the stretch, but I think it's a culty movie in the sense that like I think it's so legendarily bad that it like there's a world where people want to see this. Like it's a
Mm,
train wreck that you can't take your eyes off kind of deal,
okay.
you know? And I wonder in a way, like I wonder if like week 2 it goes from 26 million down to like 5 million, or are we going to be at like 15 to 20 because people just show up. I read one of the things I like when I was like kind of looking stuff up about why it failed so much. After all the Rotten Tomatoes reviews came out, like shortly like before the movie happened, the theaters who had like pre-sales for tickets for this for the release weekend had a ton of cancellations come through, and that's
Oh,
where a
shit.
lot of the money loss came from, is that like they suffered huge cancellations like right after all the reviews started coming out, which
It's
like
kinda
makes
crazy
sense.
because, like, you know how we talk about, like, how Rotten Tomatoes doesn't match the opinion of the masses, but they still have enough pull to get people to cancel their tickets?
Yeah, and have you seen the audience scores? Since you can't look stuff up, I'll do uh the favors here, you know.
Thank you.
um So, like, Cinema Score gave it a C plus, right?
Okay.
So not like terrible, terrible. I've become all too reliant on you
And now
doing
you
this.
suck at Googling?
Well, so I thought it just came up on like the front page of like Rotten Tomatoes, like
I'm
one of the.
loving that you're struggling because now you see what I go through week after week.
Well, I'm not struggling. I've literally looked up one page and I went right to it,
This would be
dude.
the
I
point
gave
where you're
you
yelling
the
at me.
audience score. I went to the audience score
The
like
audience score is
immediately.
56.
There you go. You're the man. Um, so 56, I mean, it's not good, but like there's definitely worse shit out there, right? Like we've
Yeah.
seen worse audience ratings for movies. Um, I just, you know, like I wonder what the fall off looks like. I wonder if there's a little bit of a box office hold just off of word of mouth, because despite how bad everybody um I think generally I've seen talk about this movie has felt about it, truthfully, most of the people I've talked to have enjoyed this quite a bit.
Okay.
Like, from, like, a disaster standpoint, from it being funny. Uh, do you wanna, like, talk about our thoughts on it a little bit, though?
Yeah. Let's get into it.
I'm like, I think this movie, for all the shit I get for being, like, negative on things,
Oh, you're gonna fall on my side, I think.
I like so I took notes, by the way, and we'll get
Did
into the
I?
bad. We'll get into the bad, but I took a couple notes, and I did write, that at about an hour in, I was like, "This isn't that bad."
Okay,
Like,
because that's pretty
there
much where I was at.
yeah, like, there's some very obvious just from, like so from a filmmaker standpoint, just a critical standpoint, this movie's abysmal, right? Like, I think,
Sure, but we've
did
talked about the fact that I don't have the ability to look at it in a critical light as the way that you
yeah.
do, you know what I mean? So, like, just from your average viewer, like, I went in there, like, hearing that it was a horrible movie, it sucked, you shouldn't watch it, all this and that, down to the Rotten Tomatoes and, like, what you told me you'd heard, and then I'm sitting there watching it, and I'm waiting for it to be worse than it was.
I think what it is like, and I kind of talked about this last week, and this is where we'll like kind of bounce back and forth between like the conversation before seeing it and after seeing it. It's like there is no way that this movie is like 15% on Rotten Tomatoes. There it's like almost like a strategic takedown of a movie to a point, you know? And I understand like that's just an aggregate score. So nobody's going to say that this was a great movie. So by just taking like the overall everybody's going to be on the lower end, it's going to come out as a low score. I understand how that works, but like
Yeah, I just think it should have probably been closer to 40.
the general public doesn't understand the way Rotten Tomatoes scores work, I think.
Mm,
So 15% is like, oh, like this is like the worst movie of all time. But that just means that like nobody gave this a good rating, you know?
yeah.
Which it probably shouldn't get a good rating. Like there are some things like, dude, the
So
did you
I
notice
wrote some things down too, like the camera work bothered the hell out of me.
brother, this is literally what I was gonna say. So did I knew you would notice this too. The camera zoom-ins in the first like 5 to 10 minutes of this movie were so fucking weird. Like they would just like
The just
randomly zoom in close up on somebody's
It
face
wasn't
and you'd be
even the
like, "Why?"
zoom ins. It was like all the pans and like the weird like fast cuts and like the weird angles too.
Yeah, it was like, why are they doing this? Like it doesn't make sense. Like it's not adding something from an artistic standpoint what they're integrating here, right?
Yeah.
And I literally wrote who filmed this. Like that was my note. Like, well, who thought what they were like making this movie? That these
It almost
filming
feels like it's like a film student fresh out of school, and we're like, oh, we're gonna give him a shot.
yeah, like this is a movie with an $80 million budget that looks like it was filmed by somebody doing like their last project in college. Who has like $3,000 to film the movie, you know, and is filming on
Yeah.
like handhelds and is trying to like make up for like stuff that they could do in post. It's really weird in that regard. The
The
other
other
thing
thing,
that
oh,
yeah, that's funny. Like you can go. You can
the other thing I was gonna say is, I also wrote in my notes Aquaman hair.
go. For which one? For who? The guy?
It's just every scene they showed with her like underwater when they were doing like the whole web sequence. It wasn't convincingly underwater. She looked dry,
Yeah,
and the
there was
hair
no
looked
chance
fake as
she
hell.
was there was no chance she was actually underwater for
Well,
anything,
obviously,
right?
but like it's just like, can they film that more convincingly? You know what I mean? Like,
Like, and so another thing from like a direction, like in a visual standpoint. So the villain in this is so bad. Like I thought his lines
yeah, I
were
didn't like him at
terrible.
all. Yeah,
Right? Like he was maybe the worst part of the movie because everything was like the lines were so wooden and stiff. And like come to find out, apparently, like this guy doesn't speak very good English. And they
oh,
basically did like after they put in his like dialogue, like I think
they did
after.
voiceovers, right?
Yeah, for
Okay,
most
because
of
I
it.
could tell that some of when he was talking, like the the voice wasn't lining up with his mouth.
Yeah, so like they put a lot of his stuff in after the fact. And like that comes through so obviously
Yeah,
in it, you know, like it was like just so like cringy. His dialogue out of everybody's. I think him and Dakota Johnson, I think, are the worst parts of this movie.
who's Dakota Johnson?
She is Madam Web.
Ah, okay.
Like easily to me, the two worst performances in the movie. Um, and like Dakota Johnson has moments where I'm like, oh, like she's like, it's fine, but like overall, if you read a lot of the stuff that she is saying, and I'm gonna try and I was looking at some of this stuff before. I had her like quotes up.
Mm.
I thought it was like right at the very top of my search here. Basically, she was like, she's never seen any of the Marvel movies. Like she said she had, and then when they were like asking her like okay can you like what were the names of the three Spider-Man movies that have come out, she couldn't name any of them. Like she had no idea about like any of the stuff that's going on. She they asked her favorite female like character in like the Spider-Man franchise and she didn't even know like Mary Jane or any of that. um
Jesus Christ.
she she said filming in front of the blue screen was absolutely psychotic. And she was like I don't even know if this is going to be good at all.
Honestly,
Like
I feel that because there was some scenes like when they were in the city that you could just tell it was green screen, like they weren't actually in the city or blue screen or
yes.
whatever the fuck they used.
and it's almost like you why not
Like, it wouldn't have added that much to the budget to go to a
just
city, I
film
feel like.
it? Just film on like a kind of like there's scenes in the movie like when they're at like the Pepsi firework company, which like is fucking nuts. uh, like there's scenes like you could have very easily just filmed in like a industrial park
Yeah.
road and made this work. Like you didn't have to do any of it. Um, and I just think with her, like she is the child of like famous parents, and I think there's a bit of nepotism that
Mm.
she has had like coming through her career. And I think it's easy when you don't have to like worry about your movies bombing that you can just like I just don't think that she cared. And I think the performance kind of comes off like that. You also read that like she jokingly like the three main girls, like the spider girls, she they like they have like a group chat and they said that she like would just leave them on red
Oh,
like and
really?
not respond to them. And then like her side of it is like that she was in like she wasn't even in their group texts. And I think they're probably telling more the truth there. Like I think that these three girls are all the same age and they probably got along and had good chemistry. And I think there's scenes with
Because I was
the
gonna say
three of
that
them.
even came through in the movie.
Yeah, like when they were in the woods together, I think that like their scenes together all felt pretty good.
Yeah.
Like they all felt kind of authentically like they got along. And she just is like probably 15 years older than them and just
I was
has,
just like, "What do I have to talk to you guys about?"
there's that. I think that she didn't grow up in a real world like they did because her parents were already like her parents are already like established and everything and like she grew up in Hollywood,
So
as
she grew up in
opposed
a
to
more privileged world than they did.
like just in a different perspective like both of her parents are famous people like she's grown up in this industry and I think like some of that probably leads to thinking you're better than people and I think also some of it just means that you're like disjointed from reality a little bit versus these like teenagers that are like making their way the hard way through some of this.
Yeah.
And actually having to like pay a little bit more of their dues. And I do think there's a world where like being a nepotism baby isn't easy either, where like you have to prove yourself at an even higher level. But like she's got her money. She was in a major like franchise. Like she's done like this for a long time. Um so like the visuals were bad. Some of the dialogue bad but laughably bad to a point, like cringy bad to a
Yeah.
point. Like I line off the beginning about like accepting power and like gaining responsibility. Like that
Yeah,
shit's stupid,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
I have some like I pulled up the IMDb like goofs and like issues with this movie, and I
Oh
and I just
god.
want to read a couple of them. There's not a ton, but there's just some funny ones. So like, how they said that she was diagnosed with something pre-birth, and
Yeah.
that's why her mom did everything she did. So factual errors under IMDb. Um, Myanthesenia gravis or whatever. Like I don't know. Like I can't pronounce it.
Mesothelioma.
Yeah,
I'm just
exactly.
kidding, it's not that.
Uh, they said that, that can't be diagnosed before birth. It's a genetic condition, but, it's not a genetic condition, it's an autoimmune disorder.
Mm,
So, like, basically, like, the whole premise for why she ends up like, her mom does all of this stuff and how she ends up with her powers
it's
is all just
bullshit.
wrong. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's just, like, not even accurate, whatsoever. They also mentioned, like, Mike Epps, when he it's 3, 2, 1, like, I don't think anybody gives a fuck if you spoil this movie, right? But,
When he
when
kicks the
Mike
can.
Epps yeah, when the dump truck hits his his ambulance, they were
Yeah.
like, "This the dump truck is traveling over 30 miles an hour down a street, but there's a sign that shows that it's a dead end at about 50 feet ahead." So there's, like, no reason for this truck to be driving fast down the street that just destroys her. Um, some other ones that I had read, so Madam Web's set in 2003, and, like, what do you think of the time period? Was that necessary? Like, why they like aside from the fact that I maybe they wanted to limit the technology, but I almost think it would make more sense, like what
I was
he's
trying to
able to
figure
do.
out why they did that too, because I started noticing it, and it was just like, why is this not just modern time?
Yeah, because the only thing I can think is because then it wouldn't be that crazy that other people could have the technology that he had to be able to track in real time where everybody is. Like, because if they had have made this like modern,
If they
like
had
you
cared
could have
that
just
much to
hacked
make
into
that
stuff. Like,
realistic, like why didn't they do their research on things like having the truck come from a dead end street or, researching the disease they said she had?
yeah, yeah, fair, fair. But so the movie's set in 2003, right? And I guess in one of the scenes on the subway, there's somebody playing a PSP. The PSP didn't release in North America till 2005, which is those are always like fun continuity ones. Another major one is the song "Toxic" by Britney Spears,
Oh
which
no.
it didn't release on the radio until 2004. So like that whole scene doesn't like they like throw in "Toxic." They could have had her sing like "Dance to Eddie" song. Why they choose "Toxic"?
Or they could have just set
Like,
their movie in 2005 and had no issues.
yeah, yeah, it's just so weird. Like there's other like small ones like they like there's some continuity stuff where like there's a scene where a guy's reading a newspaper and it says girls are kidnapped, but the kidnapping happened earlier that day, so like there wouldn't have been a new newspaper that had come out like at that point. And I guess that same scene with the dump truck T-boning the ambulance, um, they show an overhead shot that, like, doesn't line up with the way that he got hit at all, like, which when we go back to, like, the filmographer just being terrible at his job, like, that kinda makes sense. The last one is, like, geography. They said that, at 5 a.m. The sun is shining like very bright in New York City, but the sun never shine like rises before 5:24 in the morning. Like which is just again like stupid. Like why? How do you make these mistakes?
Eh,
Uh,
I'm sure
uh,
there's more
I,
like good movies that have these similar issues, but like it's just funny when it just stacks on top of this movie that already has so much wrong with it.
yeah, it's just a bunch of things that you can nitpick about it, right? And the my other issue is like the overall premise of the movie, and like me and Tom were joking about this last night or 2 nights ago. It's almost like this movie was supposed to be Final Destination. Like they had a Final Destination script laying around, and they were like, "We can't use it. Like we don't want to use this for five. Like like the whole
So
scene
now
in
we'll
like
just
the
throw in a superhero to cheat the death.
yeah, like the scene at the whole ending sequence, right in the fireworks factory.
That did
Like
feel
tell me
very
that
like
doesn't
Final
come
Destination. Yeah, you're right.
yeah directly out of a Final Destination movie, and like, just without the gore. Like, it's a Final
Yeah.
Destination, like, scene without the gore through and through.
It's
Like
PG-13 Final Destination.
yeah, it almost just doesn't fit what they wanted to go with for it, right?
Yeah.
Uh, or, like, they could've just done more. It's one of those things where, like, superhero movies have been done to such an extent that, like, this just is, like, a very underwhelming, uh superpower, her abilities, and the joke, like the long-standing joke in this is like she is such a bad superhero that really the only way she stops the bad guy for a majority of this movie is with vehicles. Like a car is her superpower. Like she literally
Damn.
launches a car into this guy twice to stop him because there's no way that they could have her physically like match up with him.
Yeah.
And it's like it's fine because at the end like she figured like she spends one half day in the Amazon and like finds out that like she can master her powers, like it. But the whole part before that is like, okay, I'm just gonna slam my car into this guy.
Also, it's crazy, like, most other superheroes, like, they have that time period where they have to figure out how to hone their powers. No, she went and had a conversation, and, like, 3 days later, it just clicks in her head like, "Oh, yeah, I can do that."
Yeah, yeah, like she just had to like take a deep breath and
Yeah.
she could figure it out.
They did the
Um
cheesy, like, hear the echo of his, voice in her head.
And like it's I'm just I here's the thing. I enjoyed this for the most part, but there is a lot of like issues, right? Another issue I had in the trailer, and if anybody's watched Sydney Sweeney on Hot Ones, she talks about getting fitted for her spider suit.
Mm.
And like they did all these models and she was super cool. She got to wear the suit. So you'd assume that there was like gonna be scenes of her in the spider suit. The only scenes of them in the spider suit are literally the scenes from the trailer.
Yeah.
Like, it's the exact scenes from the trailer are the ones that you're getting in the movie, and that's all you get of them actually as, like, spider babes.
Yeah, that didn't make much sense to me either, but I don't know. I mean, I don't know if they're like setting up like they wanted a sequel for this, but I don't think anybody's asking for it.
Well, it was a total jump the shark thing, right? Like, that's what I feel like it was is like, "Oh, like, we're gonna be able to do another one of these movies where they have fully developed powers," and, like, we don't even know. Like,
How
this
would they
movie
get powers?
like how they get them, right? Like we
Yeah.
don't even know where the powers are going to come from. Like where do they get the suits? Where do they like none of that is ever going to get explained because this movie is so bad that it's not going to make the money necessary. It's never going to get a sequel, right? Like
No.
there's reports that are like it's going to be at least a decade till we see another Madam Web like product. And I think the issue is and this is where you know, I would need like Steve, or our nerd affiliated guys to kind of fill in the blanks on some stuff for me because my only recollection of Madam Web is from some of the Spider-Man animated TV shows where she appears and like helps him work through some stuff, you
I
know.
have no knowledge of the character before this movie.
But like to me, like it's not a major character, right? It's like it's just something that like nobody ever asked for,
But
and
that's
it's
what
very
Marvel's
much
been
just
doing. Let's give
this isn't
side
Marvel
characters
though.
movie.
This
Oh,
isn't
it's not
Marvel. This
Marvel?
is Sony. This is Sony. So it
Mm,
is a Marvel property, but this is one of like Sony owns like the Spider-Man IP. That's why they have Venom,
I
right?
got
Like
you. Okay.
they gave Tom Holland Spider-Man over to Disney. But like originally they lent it. Like he was only in Civil War because they lent him to Disney. And then Disney had their hands in making the Spider-Man movies, but it was owned by Sony. I don't know how that work breaks out now. It may very well be that like Disney just has like all of hit like the Tom Holland stuff at this point because they actually do a good job and they make money. And Sony's probably like, okay, look, we're taking a cut of this, so keep doing it, you know? Um, but like the Marvel stuff, like Craven the Hunter, like all of that, that's not Disney Marvel, that's Sony Marvel. And there's a
Mm.
distinction there in the quality of these movies, right? Like the direction that these movies are getting. Uh, to where like I think that they just wanted to be able to have their own Spider-Man stuff, but like they just failed so miserably. And part of it's just like they forced in certain Spider-Man aspects, and we haven't talked about this yet either, right? So there's the line in the trailer that everybody makes fun of about like, oh, like he did research with my mom in the Amazon about spiders, like you know, like that, like fucking weird line that
Mm.
didn't even make it into the movie. But also, um, Ben Parker,
I didn't even catch
Uncle,
on that.
you didn't, Uncle
No.
Ben. That's Uncle Ben.
Oh shit.
His sister's having a kid, and they're doing the name guessing.
Oh. Oh fuck. All right. The
Like,
fucking kid's
they're
name is
doing the whole
Peter.
name they yes, but they never say it. They never I thought there was gonna be a scene when they're in the hospital at the end and, like, she has the kid. I thought we were gonna get, like, a little pan to, like, you know how, like, there's, like, the
Oh,
thing
the
that says,
name
like, the
on the bassinet or whatever.
yeah, I thought we would get something like that that said, like, Peter Parker, and it'd be like, "Oh, Easter egg," like because that's the only thing that makes sense for the time period, right? I think that that's why they chose 2003, possibly.
To line up with the later like Tom Holland Spider-Man shit.
Possibly. Yeah. Yeah, like,
That actually would make sense, yeah.
I
I
think
think you're
that
giving
that's
them too
probably
much
why you
credit,
got
but that does make sense.
I mean, it's 100% by design though that like his name is that is Uncle Ben.
Shit.
That
R.I.P., bro.
is that is he's the one who's going to be responsible for, and maybe you were going to get a sequel where Emma Roberts, the other weird thing is like Emma Roberts is a relatively successful actress who has like a nothing role other than the fact that she's going to end up being Peter Parker's mom, you know. So like I don't know if they plan to do a sequel and it's like Peter dies and then like, well, not Peter but his like the mom and dad die and like they end up with Uncle Ben and uh kind of grow up with him and like you have this like backstory to why like he would be associated in there, right? Like uh but even still it's like
Yeah, because I
ham-fisted
now
too
that you're
because
saying all that, I feel like there was a line in the movie, and I'm probably way off on this, but I feel like there was something where they were talking about like, oh, like I'm the uncle, I get to play with them and give them back, and there was like that's what you think, something
yeah,
along those
yeah, you're
lines. Yeah,
right.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Like you
Yep.
remember that, right? Like that's
Yes.
hitting my
Yeah.
head right now. Like something along those lines happened.
That's all like this was all to like be like a
Shit.
little wink and a nod
I
like
wish I picked up on that. I might have even enjoyed the movie a little more.
yeah, that stuff is all just by design to like give a little wink and a nod to why like to this being like a Spider-Man movie, you know.
Yeah.
But it's something that'll like like the problem is like this movie sets up all this shit that's never gonna get paid off. Like, and it didn't even set it up because it's almost like that was there because there's no post credit, right? And did people
Mm-mm.
stay in your theater for like thinking there was post credit?
Yeah, they did, but as we typically do, I looked it up before I went in and saw they originally had a post credit and decided to cut it.
I knew that there wasn't one, right? So like literally I saw this the first day it came out. I saw it like first showing
Mm.
South Bay, right?
When you say first
And
showing, what are you saying? Like you caught like the noon movie?
noon. Yeah, yeah.
Oh shit.
It was like 1:15 or 12:15.
Okay.
Something like I think it was 1:15. But yeah, I saw the afternoon showing of this, like the first one available that you could have watched. And there was probably like 15 to 20 people in my theater, which in all intents and purposes for like a Wednesday afternoon on Valentine's Day, like wasn't a bad turnout, right? Bailey is I'm just playing around with Bailey right now, guys.
Oh, I hear.
Uh yeah. So for like there wasn't a terrible turnout, but the movie got over and I was out of my seat in 2 seconds. Like the second the like end thing happened, I'm
I'm
like
sorry.
I'm
It's
out
like
and I'm
now that I know that you're playing with Bailey, like it's just killing me because I could. It just looks like she's ripping your arm off.
she is. Yeah, I'm holding her toy and she's just whipping back and forth right now. Yeah. I'm just trying to keep her occupied, you know.
Yeah, no, I
Um
get it.
it's just like so distracting that I'm like getting shaken around. Um so I get up and like I walk out and I'm like looking around. I'm like, nobody's moving. Like these guys think this fucking like they liked it so much that they want to stick around, or they think they're gonna get more. Like,
Yeah.
dude, this is done. Like this movie's done, brother. Like you don't gotta watch any more of this. So yeah, I got up. She is literally ripping my arm out. Let's finish up the recap of the movie itself. The ending, right? So Madam Web in the like she gets the classic Madam Web look by the end of this movie.
Yeah.
And the way that they got there is so stupid. Like uh she's like so far underwater. They strategically foreshadow teaching the kids CPR
Yep. Yep.
early in the movie, which also in the IMDb goofs, they said she teaches them wrong, like she gives them wrong information
Oh
on how to
damn.
perform it.
I
Like
always
this,
thought it
like
was
and
like
who
one,
like,
two, three, four, five, stop, right?
I thought they were supposed to like. I've always heard that you're supposed to sing "Stay in" like uh
Uh,
uh
uh,
uh stay
staying
alive.
alive, staying alive.
Yeah, that's how you do it. And I thought that that would have been the way you teach somebody, but like they were like, "Oh, great teacher." It's like come to find out, she just didn't even tell them the right
They couldn't
information
fit that
in the
song in the
first.
budget. That's why.
Yeah, they can fit "Toxic" by Britney Spears though. They had kind of a good soundtrack, by the way.
I didn't
I
hate the
was
soundtrack
kind
yet.
of I was kind of feeling some of the song choices that they had in here.
Even the
But yeah,
trippy
she's
cut of
like,
Toxic, like before they went to
yeah.
the actual song. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mhm. They had like so they had her like so far into the water and like it's like just somehow gets hit in the face by like a firework that's still lit. And it blinds her. And then she's in a wheelchair, but I don't really understand what happened to her back. Like how'd her back get blown out? Uncle Ben ain't hitting it like that, you know?
Oh man. Um, I don't. I don't
Like, did
know,
I
man.
miss something? She fall like she never gets hit like on her back hard and she falls into the water. Are they saying that the fall was so far that it like hurt her back?
Feel like they should have depicted that effect more in the movie, but I also don't feel like she was high up enough for that to be the
The
cause.
case,
Yeah.
right? Like so I didn't like maybe there's just something I missed in that part of it. But I thought she looked so fucking ridiculous in that wheelchair. Like her look at the end was so fucking stupid. Like, why are you wearing like the like I know why you're wearing the glasses and in the wheelchair. It's like because that's the Madam Web like look
Yeah.
that like people are familiar with, but it did not. I again, I just don't think she should have been the casting for this movie. Like I don't know who would have been a better choice, but I don't know why they went to her first for this. Like, doesn't make a ton of sense.
Yeah.
Um, the thing I wanted to touch on that I talked about last week, though, so Sydney Sweeney, that was my major thought around this because I think that she is like a very big pop culture person right now. Like, I
Yeah,
think like
definitely.
she's a person that a lot of people have their eyes on for one reason or another. And let's talk about like why your eyes would be on her is from a look standpoint and where this movie went wrong. First and foremost, like let's just bang out the obvious misogynistic, sexist outlook on this movie from a male perspective, right? You have one of what is considered one of the hottest women out there right now, who has like this natural beauty, and I'm being as gentlemanly as I can. These
We know what you're
natural
talking about, yeah.
you know what
Yeah,
I'm saying?
yeah, yeah,
Like some natural
yeah.
assets that are very nice, that everybody likes out there.
And they weren't out there.
What did you think of the clothing choice that they put her in this movie?
I think they were trying to dull the attention down on that. Also, she's supposed to be playing a teenager, so like,
I dude, we okay, she's a teenager in Euphoria, and like I'm pretty sure she's
yeah,
out.
you're right.
You know what I
That
mean? Like
yeah,
I understand what they were trying. They were intentionally making her they okay, don't cast her. Like don't cast her in this role if you wanted a nerdy reserved girl, right?
and I
Because that
how
doesn't
much of
align
that
with
choice do you think is hers, where she's maybe trying to dull that down to try and maybe accentuate on her perceived acting ability?
I don't think that that had anything to do with her.
Okay.
I think she is a like we looked at her red carpet look last week, right?
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
I've seen her do enough interviews. I've seen how she like I've seen enough to know that this girl is comfortable with who she is, right?
Yeah.
Like, and I'm not telling you to flash everybody in every movie. You don't need to do full frontal nudity in every movie, but like she is one of her standout things that initially caught people's eyes was her looks, right? Like good, bad, or the other. I think her acting, and this is kind of my point last week, right? Where like she's at a point right now where people are showing up and want to see her in movies.
Yeah.
And this movie was a weird choice because this isn't her. Like the character she's playing, like she was fine in the movie. Like I didn't hate her character, but it just didn't like I maybe like did it show it like was it a success then? If to your point, right? If she's choosing this as a way to try and show some different variation on what she can do, was this a good choice as far as showing range?
I mean, this wasn't the movie for that regardless. Like,
That's kind of my point, right?
yeah.
Like she's supposed to be understated, and I think that they did intentionally dumb down how attractive she is by putting her in buttoned up shirts that are up to her neck, putting the glasses on and like all that stuff, like that was all intentionally done
I mean, the
to
other thing
try
too
and
is
make
like
her play
she's not
character.
supposed to be the lead in this, so maybe they were trying to dull her down.
Sure, man. Like, but like a rising tide raises all ships, dude. Like I think that like
Like that.
you can like these three supporting actresses, like the other Elizabeth Merced or whatever, Isabella
Isabella
Merced.
Merced. Yeah.
She's gonna be in season 2 of The Last of Us. Like
Yeah.
she's on the come up as well. I'm not as familiar with Celeste O'Connor, but I thought she was good as well. Like I thought those three assisting, like the three supporting girls, were all good. But I just don't know if I think that this was like Sydney Sweeney was a great choice for the role that they put her in. Um, and
Uh
it's
s-
not all because of the physical aspects, but like I just think that like it was so intentional to me the way that they dressed her and put her in the movie that it was almost off-putting to me. I
yeah.
almost noticed that more that if they had just had her like why like it's whatever. Like I think it's just gonna come off like I'm a horny dude if I keep talking about it. So it's like
Man's over here
it
like,
just
show
seemed
me the
weird.
assets.
Like I'm again not asking for her to be like you didn't have to have like a bikini scene, but like girls don't dress like that. Like like I was alive in 2003. I was that age. Like I was a fucking 15-year-old or 14-year-old in 2003. That's not like the way girls were dressing. I'm sorry, dude. Like that's not how that girl would have dressed.
Nah, you're right.
And so like yeah, it just kind of was a little weird to me. And my main point to tie this back to last week is that I was saying that like she had this. There is a chance that this hurts her for a while. Like I think that her next movie has to be big because like I didn't even like I think we've talked about this, but and I've talked about the success of Anyone But You in the box office. It's now the number one grossing like Shakespeare based like movie ever. Like it's made 190 million
What do you
in
mean
the
by Shakespeare based?
See, this is what I thought was weird too, but it's like that's a real thing. I'm gonna look that up real quick. Can you filibuster for me?
um, I mean, I don't even know what to say. Like, I'm still trying to figure out what the
So
fuck Shakespeare based means.
Anyone But You is loosely based on Much Ado About Nothing by William Shakespeare.
Huh. I didn't know that.
Um, and it's now the highest grossing live action adaptation of any William Shakespeare play. It's grossed 190 million worldwide. So we've talked about this week like a few weeks now. Like it's a massive success. She's on the come up. She is now attached to a movie that could potentially be the biggest flop of the year, is probably going to win the most Razzies this year for like terrible awards to come along with a movie, right? And maybe she doesn't win any individually, but she's attached to this now. And what does she have coming up
Yeah, I was
for?
just looking at that. Immaculate. She's gonna play a nun.
Like, what are we trying to do here? Yeah.
It's a thriller, so I don't know like what spin they take on that, but
Uh, Immaculate. So, Cecilia, a woman of devout faith, is warmly welcomed into a picture perfect Italian countryside where she is offered the role of an illustrious coven.
convent.
Um, would it be convent? Sorry. But it becomes clear to Cecilia that her new home harbors dark and horrifying secrets. Okay, so like that sounds okay.
And the production's completed on that, so
Yeah, that's soonish.
it
Um,
says 2024.
and so is Euphoria still happening? Like, because it looks like under upcoming they show more
So
Euphoria.
it didn't like complete, so I think there's still supposed to be another season, but I don't know when they plan. Oh, season 3 premiere 2025.
Okay.
Okay.
She also is in a movie called Eden that is going to star Vanessa Kirby, who just got cast in Fantastic Four, and also has Anna De Armas in it. This might be the hottest movie of all time. And it's going to be directed by Ron Howard, which follows a group of people fueled by profound desire to change. In order to turn back to society, they leave everything behind and set their futures on the harsh landscape of the Galapagos. Jude Law is in this. Daniel Bruhl, which I like, he's been in a few things. He's the bad guy in Falcon and Winter Soldier, or one of the bad guys. He's the one who's also
It's another
from.
thriller. So is that the lane she's trying to get in?
Yeah, and I think that kind of works for her, right?
Yeah.
Like a more dramatic, like a thriller role. Yeah, I think that's a good spot to be in for her. I would say doing more superhero movies would probably not be in her best interest for the immediate future.
Well,
But
especially with
these
the state of
movies,
superhero movies right now, I don't think it's a smart move for anybody really, unless you have already like your claim to fame with it. Like Tom Holland, make another Spider-Man, fine, you'll do great. But like it's not an avenue that up and coming actors should be looking to get into at this point.
you're right. Yeah, all three. So she has three movie. One's completed and two are in post production, already filmed, and they're all
They're all
thrillers.
thrillers, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So that's clearly like what she's going for right now. And
I
like
ain't mad at it.
if she has good like strong acting performances, I think that good choice. Like at that, like in like that. The
Well,
other
I think
good
the
thing with
cool thing with like
those.
horrors and thrillers too is you get to show like a kind of range in those if you do a good acting performance, and maybe that's what she's going for. But I guess we'll have to
Well, I
wait
was
and
gonna. The
see.
other thing that's good about those genres is the budgets aren't crazy, right? So it's a lot easier to have your star power and where her star power is right now. You're seeing that with Anyone But You, like the rom com genre, the same way, right? Where like there's a lower budget, so there's a lower threshold for it to make money, and her name value associated also, um, and, like, I can kinda bring this up right now, like, as we kinda segue through, like, some different topics. One of the news topics that I was kinda playing around with, like, she has the Ana de Armas movie coming up, right? Um, Apparently Ballerina, the John Wick spinoff,
Yeah.
got pushed back another year.
Oh shit.
And I bring that up to say, like, Ana de Armas, I think is another one to where, like, she could have been something special in Hollywood, and I think her looks benefited some of that, but she has made bad decisions and isn't a great actor, to boot, to a point, and has kind of hurt her star power a little bit here. But I think that there was a time, like, 4 or 5 years ago where people were like, "Oh, like, I wanna see more Ana de Armas," Like, "I'm gonna go out and see more of that." It kinda goes along with, like, being a great actor goes a long way, right? Like, or great actress, but, like, sex appeal does matter as far as being, like, a leading role in a movie, you know? We talked about, like, the bad bitch threshold a little bit last week, and,
Yeah.
like, you best believe, like, Angelina Jolie was great in action movies, but there was also something, like, supremely attractive about her and alluring that made, like, dudes wanna go see her in movies,
Yeah.
that, like, made people wanna show up, and I think that that's kinda my point with, like, the Sydney Sweeney thing where, like, you attach yourself to this movie, they lean into none of those things that I think, like, we're gonna draw in, and I think part of it is, like, they're making a female-led action movie, so they're trying to draw in more females than males, but, like, the percentage rate or ratio for male versus female fans of superhero movies is still probably, like, 75-25, 60-40, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's still, like, heavily, or, like, 64 is a big jump, like, probably, like, 65-45, but you know what I mean? Like, it's still pretty heavily weighted in one direction versus the other, and, like, I think it'd be silly to not acknowledge those things when you're trying to make money.
Yeah. All
Um,
right.
yeah, like, I just wonder. Uh, so overall, like, again, I actually came away being like, it wasn't a terrible watch. The question I actually wanted to ask you, was it better than the Marvels?
Absolutely. Hands down. No question.
That was the most interesting thing to me, was like, do I think that this is, yeah,
You
better?
had to think about that?
I mean, I didn't hate the Marvels as much as you did.
Okay.
I I think that they're somewhere in the same realm. They're very different movies in that the Marvels is intentionally a comedy, where like this movie I don't think was intentionally a comedy. I think it becomes a comedy
I
at
think the
some
other
point.
correlation you can draw to this from the Marvels is Brie Larson versus Dakota Johnson. They both kind of led their roles the same way.
You're right. They're very like stiff wooden actors. Like yeah, and I don't think that Brie Larson's a good actress either, but apparently has won like an Academy Award or something. So like somebody threw that back at me recently, and I was like, oh, okay, I didn't even really think about that. Which maybe says more about like what that award is. But you're right. Like they kind of are both stiff. Like their lines don't feel like they don't read lines like they want to be there. They're kind of just
Yeah,
like it sound like they are just reading lines. They're not acting to a point, you know.
exactly. Yeah,
Um, but yeah, I thought I kind of figured you would say this was better than the Marvels. Um, let's get into our ranking before we get into the taste test because like you know like overall, I think that both of you and I are actually on the more positive note than most people are about the quality of this movie. I
I mean, and that's
I
crazy because
totally
we
get
just spent like 45 minutes tearing it apart, but like I also for the most part enjoyed the movie. I'm
yeah,
not going
because
to
I
come
don't
out
think it's
saying it was
good,
great
like,
movie, but like I didn't hate it.
it wasn't an unbearable, like, movie theater experience for me, you know? Like, I thought it was a pretty easy watch. I think if you're a legitimate comic book fan, right, I think you hate this movie.
Okay, that makes sense.
I
Whereas I go into this with no knowledge of Madam Web at all. So it's
yeah,
just a movie.
I think if you're just a blank canvas, like an empty slate, like that can kind of just go into something and be like, okay, like I know most people are saying it's bad, but I'm just gonna watch it for what it is. Like 65 is a significantly worse viewing experience for me. You know, like there are movies like I expend forbles, I left angry, right? This movie did not leave me feeling this way. This movie was just like, okay, like I'm actually gonna remember this because of, like, how comically bad some of the decisions are in it.
And I've also left a few movies recently, like leaving with the feeling of what the fuck did I just watch? Why was I here? And I definitely didn't have that feeling at the end of this movie. I was like, it was all right. Like I didn't hate it.
Yeah, so, like, I think that's where I think it's kind of a weird one, right? So, did you give it a star rating?
Yes, I did.
What did you give it?
2.5.
B2.
Oh, okay. It fell at how deep is my list now? So I have 10 movies on my list, and it is sitting at number 6, right ahead of Lisa Frankenstein.
I'm trying to remember, like, there was something that you shouldn't you don't have Die Hard on the list, do you?
No, no. The thing I have on my list that shouldn't be is Anyone But You.
Yeah, and I almost think, like so, like, you have 2 more movies that you've seen than me now because
Okay.
you saw, like, the other language movie, right?
Out of Darkness,
Uh,
yeah.
and what was the other one you saw that I
Um,
don't have?
Anyone But You.
No, but you have 10, I have 7.
Oh, I have one other one that we'll get to in the taste test.
Got it, okay. So yeah, I'm at 7 movies. Where'd you put this?
It is sitting at number 6,
Okay, I think, like, on a, like, percentage standpoint, that's kind of even with me. Because I have mine at 4 out of 7. So I have it in front of Lisa Frankenstein, Night Swim, and ISS.
which is exactly where I have it. So cool. I don't like that our lists are remaining so similar, but I think as the year goes on, we'll span out a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, once you get 30, 40 movies deep, it'd, like, you know,
Yeah. We
it
can't have
changes
the
pretty
same
quick.
opinion over everything.
Yeah.
Give me another
Uh,
Miss Marvel where I'll hate it way more than you did.
yeah, and we'll definitely have some misalignment happen. It's bound to happen at some point in here, but, you know, I think, the movies this year so far, I think like ISS was the most divisive for us as far as like dislike. Um, and like everything else has just kind of been like what it
Okay.
is, you know,
Yeah.
like to a point. I think we were like the same way on the flip side, like the beekeeper, I think like exceeded expectations heavily for us.
Well, I think we both went in there not really knowing much what to expect aside from another Jason Statham action movie, but it
Yeah,
delivered on that tenfold.
yeah. Okay, let's move on to the taste test.
All right.
Um, do you have it?
Do, do you have it? Taste.
Taste.
Oh, you said the right word this time.
Fuck, I didn't screw it up.
I will tell you, it is kind of tough to sync that up digitally because there is that
We
delay.
did it though. We did
On
it.
your end, we did.
Oh, it didn't work on your end. Oh, it came through fine on my side. Okay. So I told you before we got on here, I actually have a very long list this week. I've been doing the Lord's work out here. I've been watching a lot of stuff for you guys. I've been very heavily engaged. But you went to the movies again and saw something else. So
Yes, I did.
let's do that first, just to bang out like movie theater stuff.
Yeah, yeah. So I went to see Bob Marley One Love.
So you saw both of them yesterday?
Well, I saw Madam Web 2 days ago, and then I saw Bob Marley yesterday.
Got it. Okay. Bob, this movie made a decent amount of money, from what I
Actually, didn't look
understand.
at that.
It was the number one movie, I think, in the box office this
Okay.
week. I have not heard great things though.
This okay. Um,
So let's start here. How much of a Bob Marley fan are you? How familiar were you prior to seeing the movie with him, like his story?
so I knew absolutely
Obviously,
zero of it.
okay, like because I was gonna say, obviously, like we all know
Who
Bob
he is.
Marley,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like
Like
we all know the music,
outside
like
of like knowing his
the vibe.
music and like the vibe or whatever, yeah, I didn't really know any of the story.
Okay.
Um,
So what did it do for you? Like, how'd you feel coming out of it?
it's weird, and I'm actually probably gonna have to look at my ranking again because I kind of left it like okay, cool, that was a movie. I mean, there were definitely parts of it where it's like I learned things that I didn't know about his story. Like I didn't know about the whole like turmoil in Jamaica that he was trying to like battle against with his music and all that stuff. Um I think my biggest issue with it honestly is the lead actor. I think he
Which
did
I think was a concern I heard. Maybe it was Steve had a concern about him
like
quite a bit.
I think he's a good actor. I just don't think this was the role for him. Is really
And why
kind
do
of
you
where I
say
land
that?
on it. I just don't think he portrays Bob Marley very accurately, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I don't know if it's the look that threw me off or just like the overall energy. It didn't feel right.
So it didn't feel like an authentic portrayal from him.
No. No. Like
Okay.
when you think about like, like superstars being portrayed in movies, like I think back to how J-Lo got her fame with Selena. Like she got that role because she portrayed Selena. Like I don't think this kind of takes off in that same light.
So this isn't gonna be a launching platform
It's
for him.
it's kind of like hit or miss, right? Because like I still think he did a good acting performance, but on what you're trying to land on as far as portraying Bob Marley, I don't think you really hit that mark.
Because isn't he like British or something like that? Like,
Is he?
yeah, I'm pretty sure he is.
Shit. One thing I will say about the movie is there's points of the movie where I wish I had subtitles because sometimes the accent's a little thick for my understanding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
What's his name? Sorry, I'm trying to pull it
King,
up.
it's Kingsley Benadire. He was born in London, England.
Oh yeah, 100% British. Shit.
His mom is a Trinidadian immigrant,
Okay. Um. Hmm.
but she converted to Judaism and took on the name Benadir, which it's a Hebrew word meaning the son of son of the strong or mighty.
Okay. Looking through his shit too, and I don't think I've seen anything else he's been in. Oh, he was one of the Kens in Barbie.
Yeah, and he's like, I mean, he's had some roles like Peaky Blinders.
I never watched
Um,
that. So like I'm not saying he doesn't have roles, I'm just saying I don't recognize him from
like
any
yeah,
of this
stuff you've
stuff.
watched.
Yeah.
Yeah, like neither one of us watched Secret Invasions
No.
or Secret Invasion.
What's
Sorry,
the OA?
don't know.
Okay.
TV series.
Okay.
It's only 6 episodes, so probably not that important.
Fair. Although I do like the short, quick watches.
Yeah. Um. Yeah. So you didn't you were kind of in the middle on this.
Yeah. So where I'm saying I like need to relook at the ranking now is like we just got off at talking about Madam Web and like honestly I left that movie like, yeah, I enjoyed that. Like it wasn't as horrible as everybody made it out to be, and I didn't hate my time in the theater. I left this movie like, okay, that was something. I also didn't hate it, but I didn't really feel anything, I don't think.
Yeah, like, and that's important because, like, at least towards as you like rank out the list, is like if you just kind of feel like blah when you leave a movie, like, okay, like
Yeah.
that was a movie, like, to me that screams 2 stars.
Yeah, exactly. Cause like I'll say it now, like I ranked it 3 stars and I put it just ahead of Madam Web at 5. And while I think it still deserves to be ahead of Madam Web, I think it almost needs to be at the same ranking. Like I think it needs to be at 2.5.
So you're gonna drop it back, maybe.
Yeah.
Well, I've said it before, like the list is a fluid thing, and as you have other stuff on the list, you're gonna have to like kind of make some of those changes, and like readjust a little.
Yeah, it's just I don't know. I expected more, I think, because the way the trailer framed it, like it made it seem like this was gonna be like a enlightening, inspirational, you know, movie that would pick you up, drop you, and pick you up again, kind of thing. And it just didn't really do any of that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um, do you have anything else on Bob Marley's One Love?
I'm gonna leave it where it's at. I really don't want to touch too much on it. I don't have much to say.
Okay. Um, you want me to work through some of what I watched?
Well, you got a lot to go through here.
Okay. So I'll bang out two right now that kind of work hand in hand. So the first thing I watched this week, I watched this show on Hulu.
Okay.
It's 12 episodes. It's a single season run. It's called Normal People.
Okay.
It's a mini series. It stars Paul Mescal, who's going to be in Gladiator 2, and it stars Daisy Edgar Jones, who is in Twisters.
Okay.
It is like a European movie, like it based in Ireland, a small town in Ireland, and it's about these like the life of these two people from like bit different backgrounds, like one more of like a working class single parent home, and the other from like a also single parent home, but like from better means, and like them uh knowing each other in high school and having like a secret romance. Um, but he is like she's not popular and he is like he's on the rugby team and shit like that. And they keep their relationship a secret. Like he doesn't want people to know because he's afraid of being judged
Hmm.
and like looked like being made fun of and like stuff like that. And like he just has like anxiety about the way people like will think about him. And so they keep the relationship a secret and like never go out in public, don't act like they like are friends or anything, but they're actually like fucking. And not like like graphically fucking. Like this show is got a lot of nudity. You have every part of everybody's body. There's
Oh
dicks in
wow.
this.
Okay.
Um,
That's your
yep.
favorite part?
Yep. Yep. Loved it. Nah, he's hung, dude. Good for him. Um, dude's got a piece on
Oh, okay. Stop. Stop.
him.
Sorry, I went there.
um,
Jesus fuck.
so like it like The interesting part about the show is their character types and, like, the development that you get of their characters. Because basically, like, the show takes place over, like, years of their lives, like, through, like, the end of high school into them being in college and, like, a little past that to a point, like, or, like,
Okay.
through the, like, most of college grad into grad school type deal. School works a little different there, but, like, I guess the equivalent of grad school, and it's how they weave in and out of each other's lives as they go because they're not like in relationships, like in a relationship through the whole thing. Because like she wants more out of it, and essentially he doesn't like ask her to a like important like a say essentially like their homecoming or prom,
Okay.
like a debutante's thing. Like he doesn't ask her, he asks somebody else, and like that was the last straw of the early stages of their relationships, and they both go off to college. And like so, in high school, he's the popular one, and she's like shy and has no friends. But when they get to college, like I said, he has social anxiety. He has trouble like meeting people and being himself because he's too concerned about what people think. So he
Mm,
doesn't make a ton of friends when they get to college. They go to the same school. And when she gets to college, she's kind of able to reinvent herself, and she becomes like the social and outgoing one. And like that you see their characters kind of develop, and like they go in and out of like a relationship through it. But she struggles a lot with like confidence in the way she sees herself, and she doesn't see herself as attractive. She doesn't think that she should be loved because she doesn't get love from her family at home. Like her brother hates her, her mom doesn't like she doesn't have a great relationship with her mother. Um and it kind of develops into this like she doesn't think she's deserving of love, and that like shows through in the relationships that she has like outside of him, to the point where like she starts like wanting to be treated poorly in relationships in kind of like a BDSM style way, right? um and it's like it's just a very raw like show. Like it's it doesn't try to be like it doesn't try to give you like some happy ending shit. Like um it doesn't do any of those things. Like it's just very like real. It feels through the whole thing, and like the way their relationships break out and everything. And I thought it was really, really enjoyable. It was like I highly recommend watching it. I think you'd like it
hmm.
also. Not that. Um so yeah, like and so I said I want to bang out two of them. What this led me to do after this, and also appropriate because the like I mentioned, some of the love scenes towards the end turn into a little bit more of BDSM. So it led me to watching the 50 Shades trilogy.
I figure that's where you were going. I didn't want to cut you off,
Yeah.
but I saw that coming.
Yeah, so I in Dakota Johnson, obviously star of Madam Web. That is her biggest kind of fame, is being in those movies. I had seen the first one, and I think I had seen maybe the second one, but I had never watched the third. And I was just like, kind of like, all right, like I'm gonna watch this. And so first of all, the movie's horribly uncomfortable. Like those movies are so uncomfortable, dude.
Really?
Like
Okay. I've never watched any of them, and I didn't even know there were three of them. To be honest, I thought it was just one.
they they will make you cringe and laugh through a lot of it. Like the dialogue's a little weird. Like it's almost like their character dynamics is a lot like the Twilight character dynamics of like Edward and Bella, of
Fun
like
fact:
this
never
dude
watched that
like
either.
yeah. And like I'm not saying you have to watch either one of these. But like what I mean by that is like there's like these scenes of Robert Pattinson and Kristen Stewart where like um he'll just like stare at her and like these like very icy stares, but it's meant to be like, he's a very like quiet, like brooding person, and like that
Mm.
he like is infatuated by her, and like he's very like I don't know. It's like
It's like a power
it's meant to
dynamic
be
thing,
one
right?
thing. Yeah, but it's like a little weird. Yeah, and like he's unwilling to. He doesn't want to love. Like he literally, a line from the first movie, Dante, is like, "I don't make love, I fuck." It's like is a line from that movie.
Okay. Okay.
And so like a lot of it is like it's just like uncomfortable at some points. But here's the one thing I'll say, like without going heavy into a review on the 50 Shades movies. I talked about on here like several episodes back that the After franchise, right?
Yeah.
Like the
Yeah. Yeah.
five movies. And one of the things I've talked about is wanting to get more of like the romantic movies or like comedic movies getting sequels where you get to see more growth from where like relationships go, right? And my biggest gripe with the After franchise was like you had 5 movies, and I don't feel like the characters really grew for about four and a half of them. At least the male lead in that movie, those movies didn't really grow at all to me, right? Like didn't develop. And the thing I appreciated, I think, after watching the 3 50 Shades movies is the their characters. I thought his character grew, at least Christian Grey's character, Jamie Dorner, I think's his name in real life.
Mm,
I actually was like, I see the growth in this character, and it's almost like there's like a role reversal that you get through them because like he is like ice cold and he doesn't make love, he fucks. And slowly throughout the movies, like you see him like instead of being the dom and she's the sub, it almost becomes like a role reversal to a point where he like worships her so much
mm.
that you see like their characters kind of grow. And I at least appreciated that a bit, to be honest.
Okay.
So yeah, I watched those two, and I have plenty more where that came from. But do you have any other ones?
Um, I watched a series on Apple TV called Slow Horses. It's basically,
Okay, I don't know if
uh,
I like the sound of that.
fun fact, has nothing to do with horses.
Okay,
It's about uh,
I'm listening, everybody. I just Bailey's doing the thing. I got to let her out of the room while I'm listening to them.
I feel ignored. Um, it's about a MI5 team that's basically like bottom of the barrel. Like instead of firing them, they send them off to this unit they call like Slough House, and they're supposed to just get like the bottom of the barrel like bullshit that nobody else wants to do, but then they end up being like the stars of MI5, and it's just kind of like a fun like espionage series. Um, it starts out kind of dry, but I enjoyed it towards the end of the third season, and there is a fourth season coming at some point next year.
How many episodes per season?
6 episodes per season.
Is this an
This is the
Apple TV?
Yeah, this is the thing I love about Apple TV is they keep their seasons short and to the point.
Well, I was gonna
Like
say
I
if you've banged out 3 seasons, it can't like I know for you like it couldn't have been
Yeah, it's
that
not like an
long.
18 episode per season kind of thing. Like it 6 episodes per season, 18 episodes total. Like it's not aggressive at all. They're 45-minute episodes. I liked it.
You're able
I
to just do a straight binge.
it wasn't a straight binge, but it was over the course of like 3 or 4 days.
Any notable actors, or like is it kind of an
It's
unheralded
it's it's
cast?
all British actors, so nobody I think we would know. Um Actually, I think one of the guys might be somebody. I don't know. Tell me if the name Donnie Oldman means anything. Gary
Uh,
Oldman, I'm sorry.
oh, Gary Oldman, yeah,
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 yeah, yeah, okay.
he's Alfred in Batman, dude.
That.
The the Dark Knight.
Yeah. I didn't recognize any of the rest of them, but he was the only one that like his name sounded like something I've heard before. So,
Okay. Um, I wanted to tell you I watched this. Me and you had kind of talked about this movie on here a few weeks ago, and I meant to bring it up last week and I didn't. I watched Need for Speed.
ooh, what'd you think on the rewatch?
It was better than I remember it. I liked it.
I
It's
told you it's a
not like
good
an
movie.
amazing movie. Also a Dakota Johnson
But
movie.
oh shit.
She is
Huh.
in that.
Okay.
She plays kind of like an unimportant, like his former love interest and current love interest of the antagonist.
Okay, yeah. She was like the one that like unveiled the car or something at the show, right?
Yeah, and like her brother is the one that gets killed.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think as far as like I say this way too much now, but like as far as like car movies go, like there's not a ton out there, and most of them really outside of like the Fast and Furious franchise or Gone in 60 Seconds aren't that great. I think this is honestly one of the better ones.
Yeah, I think the racing scenes are all pretty good. I did my only thing is like the whole like last race. It's like, are we just okay with the fact that like 10 other racers died? Like like they're just crashing their cars left and right, like in like violent fashions. And it's like this race happens once a year and like they get arrested at the end. And it's like, wouldn't you be held responsible for the amount of like collateral damage that was done by these accidents?
Yeah. Um, I I don't think so. I don't think any of them really liked each other. It's more of a competitive sense where they don't care about each other. And I know
But I'm
that
talking
movie
about
is
just from
like,
the legal aspect.
oh
Like, just
yeah,
from the eyes of the law, you know?
well they're illegally racing, so
Yeah, I just think that they should be held responsible for all the fucking deaths that came from their illegal race.
yeah. Um, it's funny because like the movie is inspired on like the Cannonball Run, which is a real race that they used to do.
Yeah.
From coast to coast, and a lot of like the historical aspects of it are included in the movie.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring it up. Yeah, it was better than I remember. Like, I think if you're looking for, like, a popcorn movie to watch, it's a good just a good watch.
I'm still holding out for that sequel.
There is actually, like, I was looking it up, like, there is still some talk of it happening. I think
The
Aaron
problem
Paul's a
is
big
there's
enough actor.
only been talk of it, and there's been talk of it pretty much since that movie came out.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it made enough money, I think, for them to do it. I think maybe they just never had, like, a good enough reason to come back to it.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm gonna like, I have a couple other quick like, I have some quick ones, and then I do have like I said, I have a lengthy list this week, guys, so, I've watched a lot of shit. So, I mean, not IMDb, Vudu had, like, a big $5 sale this weekend, like, a
Mm,
bunch of movies on sale for $5, so I bought 5 movies.
okay.
Um, I bought No Hard Feelings. I really didn't have to. It's on Netflix, but it was on sale for $5, so I just grabbed it. I didn't watch that. I just wanted to mention I bought it. So the ones that I have watched or bought, so Love and Other Drugs is another one I've talked about on here. I really really like that movie. It's a Jake Gyllenhaal and Anne Hathaway movie. Anne Hathaway has early stages Parkinson's, and Jake Gyllenhaal is like a smart dude who dropped out of medical school and was in like retail sales and gets fired, and he gets into pharmaceutical sales and meets this girl, and she doesn't want to be in a relationship because she knows what Parkinson's will do to her long term, and she doesn't want to have somebody feel like they're obligated to stay and like you know be responsible for her, like be essentially her caretaker as her things get worse. And like he's kind of like a womanizer, doesn't have like has never been in love before, and like you just kind of watch their relationship develop, and it's a fun, like a drama romance, but it's pretty funny too. So I definitely recommend that one if you've never seen it
Hmm.
and you're into that genre. I like that movie a lot.
Might have to check
It,
that
it
out because that sounds like that'll have like a similar feel to what that schizo movie I watched last week. I probably shouldn't say that. That's insensitive. The schizophrenia love drama thing. Words on Bathroom Walls. That's what it was.
Yeah, you have my Vudu, obviously, but
Yeah.
it's also on Hulu now, which is normally the case when a lot of these movies go on sale for like $5. It's because they're already available. Like they've gone up on some streaming service somewhere. So like now they just put them on sale. But I love that movie. I just wanted to buy it and have it anyways because like I wanted to watch it like a month ago and it wasn't up anywhere. So another movie, and this is a movie from when I was way younger. Like this was probably like when I was a teenager that this came out, 2002, 2003 ish. Tristan in Isolde, which is a James Franco movie. Um, and it's about the war between the English and the Irish, and this and like he plays a young boy in the beginning of the movie where his father gets killed by the head of, like, I believe it's the English army, but I might be wrong. I don't really know how the dynamics work in that way. But he's taken in by the man who saves his life and like gives up his arm essentially to save him. who's played by Rufus Sewell, which that name won't mean anything to you, Dante, but you've seen A Knight's Tale, right?
Oh, I haven't actually.
The fuck is wrong with you? Knight's Tale is a fantastic movie. So A
Oh,
Knight's Tale
think
is like
about
a
how many
great piece,
movies you haven't seen that are like considered classics or whatever. Like, don't give me that
but
shit.
like A Knight's Tale is like not like a classic in the sense of like The Godfather or something like that. But like A Knight's Tale is like just a movie that I think like a majority of people have seen and have like pretty high regards. It's a Heath Ledger movie. Obviously, it's about the knight. Like he's a knight, or he's pretending to be a knight, and but like either way, like this guy plays like a really good villain in that. And generally, when I've seen him in movies, he's played a villain. So it was weird in this to see him or remember that he plays a good guy in this one. But he wins a battle, but they think he dies because he gets sliced by a poison blade. So his heart slows to the point where they think he's dead, and they give him a funeral where they like send him out on a boat and shoot it with the arrows that are
Oh,
on
Viking
fire.
funeral.
Yeah, but it's not like a Viking funeral,
That's
like
exactly what a Viking
in this
funeral is.
sense. But like they're not Vikings, so
But it's still a
um,
Viking funeral.
but anywho, he washes back up on shores of the English, or and gets found by the daughter of um the king,
Mm.
and that she heals him back to health, and they fall in love, and he has to leave because they realize that somebody's washed ashore and they're coming to find him, so he takes a boat back to his people. They announce, because they're trying to tear apart the groups of the small tribes that are still out there. They're trying to tear them apart. So they announce this thing that's a competition between all of the I guess for lack of a better term, like knights. And he puts up for their financial reward, but also his daughter as a dowry. So she'll marry like the king of whatever sect that like wins.
Mm.
So he goes and fights to win a woman for his king, not knowing, because she had lied to him about who she was,
Oh
that he
shit.
was winning his love for his pseudo father. And so
That's fucked.
he wins her, and she gets brought back like with them and marries, and they begin an affair behind them, and it's essentially like the affair that could like tear apart the alliance that's been trying to be developed, and it could be like the kink in the armor for this alliance that's developing between all of these groups, because he's screwing his his king's wife behind his back.
And the queen.
But yeah, good movie, enjoyable. Nothing incredible, but one that I watched like many a year ago, and I wanted to go back and watch it again, so I did. I also bought The 13th Warrior. Have not watched that, but I love that movie. Another one I grew up watching in like the late 90s, early 2000s, with Antonio Banderas, which is a Viking movie. So
Mm.
um, I won't go like because I haven't watched it recently, but like if you've never seen that, which I'm sure you haven't, another one I 100% recommend. So I bought that. The last one I bought was Roadhouse. Now Roadhouse just had a trailer drop for the remake that's coming out with Jake Gyllenhaal starring in the lead role of Dalton. That's going to be coming out on Amazon in March or April, and it's supposedly so good that they were really heavily pushing for a theatrical release, but Amazon won't sell the rights and won't allow them to release it in the theaters. So it's coming out directly to Amazon, but they're like so confident in how good the movie is that they really wanted it to get a cinematic release. It stars Conor McGregor in in his first like acting role.
Mm.
The trailer looked pretty good. It's definitely a different telling, because like there were some scenes filmed at like a UFC event, so like that was a big deal at the time. Like Jake Gyllenhaal went in the octagon while they had like a live crowd there and filmed scenes
Huh.
for it. But the original Roadhouse, which came out in the 80s, starring Patrick Swayze, also has Sam Elliott. It had like it, dude. I watched this last night. It's one of the most enjoyable action watches I think you could ever see.
Oh shit.
It
Okay.
it it's like a movie very much of its time, but it's
And
like a
when's
time that
the time it was released?
the 80s.
Oh, okay, okay.
It came out in 1989, so the year of my birth.
Mm.
Um, but a great action movie, ton of awesome fight sequences. Like just has everything you could fucking want from an action movie. For anybody who's not seen it, like that it loves like that late 80s, 90s action movie like
Do we get good
world.
one-liners?
Yeah, you get great one-liners, great leading man. Um, a lot of TNA in it. It's very fucking good. I like another one. I dude, I enjoyed a lot of what I've watched in the past week, and like this might have like taken the cake as like my I've seen it before, but like I really, really loved it. Do you want me to keep ripping through these? Because I still got more, brother.
Uh, Fun fact, I got nothing left, so show's all yours.
Got it. Okay. Another thing I watched on Hulu.
Oh god.
This one spurred by a TikTok short that I watched, a clip from a movie that I had never seen before, starring Kristen Stewart,
Mm.
titled "The Happiest Season." It's a Christmas movie. Might be on my top Christmas movies list now
Oh,
too. Um, so it's about a lesbian couple, Kristen Stewart, and I forget who the other girl who is in it is. It also has the dude from who's did you watch Schitt's Creek?
I watched like the first 2 episodes. I decided it wasn't funny and I didn't continue.
It's like the one of the like the most popular guy from Schitt's Creek is in this.
Okay.
But a bunch of other people like Allison Brie is in this as well.
You
Like it's
got
got a really good
Chris
cast.
you got Kristen Stewart, Mackenzie Davis, Mary
Yeah.
Steenburgen. Oh, the dude from Schitt's Creek you're talking about is Victor Garber, right?
Yep. Aubrey Plaza is in this.
Yeah.
Um, it has a very good cast, but basically they play a lesbian couple. Kristen Stewart hates Christmas because of stuff that happened in her life in her past, and just kind of treats it like it's another day. And she gets invited home to her girlfriend's parents' house for the holidays, and she's like, I'm gonna show you how awesome Christmas can be." But on the ride to her girlfriend's parents' house, she finds out that her girlfriend has never told her parents that she's like dating somebody or ever come out to them that she's gay.
Mm.
So like Kristen Stewart has to go there and basically they have to pretend to just be roommates and it leads to like it's just a good it's like it's got some comedy to it like it's funny but also just like I thought it was an overall like good story. It's like the pressures of like the father is a political figure and has like dictated his kids' lives to like they have to show up well in public their whole lives and like it's led to the daughter who's known she's gay like she in high school she's dating Aubrey Plaza and when like the time comes that people find out she's in a relationship she like denies it and basically like puts it all on Aubrey Plaza and like gets her to be like almost bullied and like kind of ruins like things for her for a while and like causes all these problems and it's like about the girl like accepting herself and being okay with like her parents maybe not thinking that that's like the best visual for them politically and stuff and it's just cool family dynamic movie but I enjoyed that a lot
Huh.
too. Kristen Stewart's a great actress. I think that she had some years post like Twilight where like she didn't succeed as much, but I haven't seen her in very much lately that I haven't enjoyed her in. And I think that this is kind of like a perfect Kristen Stewart role. Okay, what else? I watched Bottoms. Are you familiar with this?
No.
So Bottoms came out in the theater last year. Also about two lesbian girls who start a fight club in their high school.
Oh, I didn't see that
Um,
coming.
Yeah, it's got Marshawn Lynch in it, as, like, one of the teachers, and he's fucking hilarious in it. It's, like, one of the best comedies that came out last year that I knew that I wanted to see, but I missed it in the theater, and, so it's on Amazon Prime now, I think is what it's on.
Oh,
Bailey, you
shut.
gotta give me, like, a little bit longer. She just wants attention
She's
so bad
she's
right
like,
now,
dude, are
dude.
you almost done?
Yeah, I got too many movies that I watched this week, dude. I said I had a lot going on, man. I've watched a lot of shit.
Yeah, it's on
So
Prime Video.
yeah, so it's on Prime. This is another one I highly recommend for anybody who has Prime. They so like basically like they're unpopular, like going into their senior year of school. There's two girls that they want to try and get with, and there's this like there's like a girl who gets beat up, like it's get building up to this like college, like this high school football game that's between like these two arch rivals, and like this girl gets beat up by like the players from the other team. Like this movie's totally unserious. Like it's like ridiculously over the top the whole way through.
IMDb has it
Which
listed as a raunchy comedy and satire. So yeah, I can
yeah,
see that.
yeah, it leans very heavily into stuff. And so like they start a fight club to try and empower women and protect it, but it's really just a guise for them to get these girls to come to the like their meetings after school so they can get to know them and try to like be in a relationship with them. Um and like it's very funny the whole way through, and it builds up to this awesome ending sequence of like a fight sequence that is like super gory and over the top and like ridiculous, and it's really fucking good. I definitely recommend it. It's super funny,
Huh.
and like just like a good like feel good story to a point too. So yeah, Bottoms, Amazon Prime. Last thing I think I have on my list is also from Amazon Prime. Yeah, this is my last thing. I did watch Mr. and Mrs. Smith.
Oh, okay.
Uh,
What
so
prompted that?
uh, like I mean, we've talked about it on here, right? Like TV
Yeah,
series came out. We've talked about it. I knew I wanted to watch it. I watched all these other things and I was at a point where I was like, okay, like what's next, you know? And so Donald Glover also wrote it and created it. He was part of the creation of the show, which I didn't realize. Now you have seen the original Mr. and Mrs. Smith, right? We've
yeah,
talked
yeah,
about that.
yeah, yeah.
So I thought that this was like an interesting take on it. It's because, like, if I remember correctly in the original like, in the
Because
movie.
Brad and Angelina, they have like a cameo in it at some point, right?
No, no,
No.
not in it. No, so if I remember correctly in the movie, right, they both work for opposing agencies, and they don't know that they do,
Yes.
and get assigned to kill each other, essentially, right?
Something like that. Yeah.
So this is a bit different. Like, they're working for an organization that assigns people that don't know each other to be married and go on missions together, essentially. So I'll say like there wasn't
So then it
as much
has no
action,
basis on the original Mr. and Mrs. Smith.
like like not really. No, it's like it's its own like entity in a way. And so like I'll say like there wasn't as much action as I thought there was going to be for the first like 5 episodes or so.
And you
Like the
watched the
action
whole
isn't
season,
like
right?
I've watched the whole thing, yeah.
Okay.
So I wasn't like overly impressed by the action, but I think what carries the show is Donald Glover, and I can't remember the name of the girl who plays the
It
lead.
is Maya Erskine.
Maya Maya Erskine's, yeah. So like their chemistry is like phenomenal through the whole show. I really thought they were great together, and it kind of builds through the whole thing where like first it's like the first couple episodes is like, hey, we're getting to know each other, and then it's like they set guidelines around like we're not gonna have a relationship and fall in like have sex or anything, and it quickly evolves into them like doing those things.
Yeah.
And then about like 5 episodes in, it's like you time jump a decent amount through this to like where they're at in their like professional relationship and their personal relationship and how it starts impacting things. Cause like you're suddenly in a relationship with somebody, a very intimate relationship, like, but also with the work stress and everything in a high stress environment, where you don't know everything about somebody, and like you're kind of learning these things as you go, and they end up in like couples therapy like halfway through the show, and like they're hating each other and they're fighting, and it builds to like that scene in the movie where Brad and Angelina have the fight in the house,
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know. So like you basically build through like the episodes of the show, like the points in their relationship, to the point where they are assigned to like kill each other.
Oh, okay.
Um,
Hmm.
and like it's like that's not like that's if you've seen the movie, like you already kind of expect like some of those beats to happen along the way. So I don't think that's spoiling anything. Um, but I really, really liked it. The only thing I'll say is it ends on like If it ended, it'd be fine, but it ends on what would be considered a pretty big cliffhanger, I think. Like, it's an ambiguous ending,
I
but
got you.
you wanna see what happens next, you know?
Okay.
Um, so yeah, that's my, like, 9 different things. This is definitely my deepest list I've had for the taste test. Sorry if it dragged people.
Really fucked me up
I'll
for having a
say
short list, huh?
yeah, I mean, I'll try to keep it a little tighter next week, but I loved, like, I've watched a lot of shit I really enjoyed over the past week. Like, I've been in the lab, brother.
Yeah. Think I gotta
And I
start
like all
start searching for more stuff to watch.
all of the stuff I just listed, dude, like I think you'd like a lot of it just knowing like the taste that you have and stuff. Like I think you'd like it, but I definitely recommend, this is the taste test. This is where we just, we talk about the stuff we're watching and we try to give some recommendations. A lot of that stuff is available for you to watch. If you've never seen fucking Roadhouse before and you're an action movie star, like watch that shit, especially with a new one coming out. Like I'm looking forward to being able to compare and contrast those a bit. And I know I started with it, but like normal people was like I really really liked it. I think that that's one of my favorite shows that I've watched in a while. So uh cool. You didn't have anything else. I don't have anything else. I said I would keep it under an hour. We went over an hour. What else is new? Um
We're treading close to 2.
no, we're not.
We're at an hour and 35.
Yeah, okay, we're good. Okay, yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, tasties and tastettes, it has been a blast. Thank you for listening to the Madam Web talk, and hopefully you take some of the stuff that we watched and you check it out as well. Let us know, please. Um, you can like the video, comment, share, subscribe, all that stuff right here on YouTube. You can find us anywhere audio podcasts are provided. Tante, can they find you anywhere?
Dirty Water ENT on YouTube, Dirty Water underscore ENT on Twitch and Instagram.
Word. And we are also on social media. We're at Good Taste Live on X. We're at For Those With Good Taste on Instagram, at FTWGT on TikTok. Bailey is just like, get this over with, please. As maybe some of you are too, but you didn't have to watch this long. So, like, deal with it. And until next week, ladies and gentlemen, um, bang, bang. And we bid you a folly adieu.
Saved it for the end. I like that.
Yep. Love you. Bye.
For those with good taste.